Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Concussion Nerds podcast. And I feel so spoiled lately because these last few weeks, my friends, you've got to meet some phenomenal people. And this week is no exception to that because I have just met this amazing woman and we've had a very short conversation, but I'm already learning things and blown away by her heart and her passion and her purpose and what she's using a platform that I honestly, Brianna, never would have thought of that could highlight invisible injury and concussion awareness in a really profound way. And I love when we message too that you're bringing it to this world. So for those listening, we are going to be joined by Briana Rice. Hello, Brianna.
Hello, greetings and gratitude.
Tidbit, we had the conversation of Brianna versus Brianna, Natasha versus Natasha, because Americans and Canadians say A's differently. So this is literally how we started our conversation. Brianna, thank you. She is, my friends, the Miss 2025 Miss USA Woman of Achievement. So Brianna is active in the pageant world. And Brianna, I do want to go into your story, but can you just explain, because you just opened my eyeballs, what that reign, what that title means generally and what it means to you?
Okay, so first of all, personally, it means the world to me because living with post-concussion syndrome, living with a traumatic brain injury, for me, initially, that was the worst thing in the world for me. However, competing in this pageant, taking on this platform, it has turned my pain into purpose. So what does this mean? I now have a national title that I can use to advocate on a larger scale for victims of traumatic brain injuries. And my goal is to show them that they can still, slow down, live more graceful and grace-filled lives, but it doesn't have to be the end of your story. It's a new beginning, a new normal. And also just helping people find resources that I didn't find out till much later, such as the Brain Injury Association of America, learning that there's different clinicians that can help you, such as chiropractors, neuropsychologists, just helping people find resources and skills that will help them just find their accommodations and live. And also just showing myself as someone who didn't give up and didn't throw in a towel and just didn't close my eyes and shut the doors and say life is over.
I love that. There's so many inspiring people in this world. And I love that you turned that pain into purpose. And so let's give some context into who you are. And I know you was a neurodevelopmental scientist prior to, and give us some context. Who are you, my dear?
So my I ams, I say I have many I ams because by trade, I am a developmental biologist. I studied cell, molecular, and developmental biology. And I was so blessed for 14 years before my accident to work for a nonprofit and travel the world to medical conferences, not just working with assistive reproductive technology, but blood, cells, organs, tissue. So I got to really take medicine, take science, something that I love, and that was my passport to see the world. And that had opened my eyes. And I had started a whole Love and Light movement in 2020, which was about spreading love and light. Because one thing I realized with developmental biology, which is about human reproduction, our goal is to start it from love, but we may not always be the best when it comes to loving one another. So how do we spread more love and more light? Well, what I found during my journey towards love and light, I find myself in an accident where I'm permanently disabled. So now it's like, okay, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself? And what I learned, the most loving thing I could do for myself is give myself grace. And that's where the platform Grace for Your Journey came from. Learning, hey, I have to accept what I can and can't do. But even with this new normal, what can I do? Who can I help? And I actually have a lot of people who just didn't even know some of the resources and things I share are available. And that's how I found you, because you do such a great job of explaining from a clinical perspective what's happening in the concussion world and what's happening in our minds. And just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. So
yeah, thank you. So have you always been in the pageant space? And then like, how did that journey happen then?
So even that is just serendipitous. I had always been in the science world and humanitarian spaces, and I had received a humanitarian award in like 2023. Okay. And literally while I was receiving that award, my now director, Marlena Martin, was sitting across from me. And I was dressed in a gown. I even had like a little crown on, so I was feeling like a princess for the day. And
I love it.
Have you ever competed in a pageant? And mind you, I didn't even pageantry is not something I even thought of. I always just saw myself as a scientist, but a feminine woman. And so when she did that, I actually started crying because she was like, do you have something that you could advocate for that's bigger than you? I'm like, oh my God, could I talk about traumatic brain injury awareness? She's like, yeah. So I got a coach. I worked on my speech and how to share my story without bleeding on other people. And I won. And I'm like, hold on, what? Against other women who are able-bodied, me thinking I'm not good enough. But I realized I had a cause worthy enough to take a crown and advocate. So I am very new to the pageant world, but I'm falling in love with it.
Okay. And so, I mean, part of the reason why you say you love this is the ability to continue to share and to advocate. So what does this next year, will you continue to hold this title? What opportunities is that giving you to share your story and share your voice and share your platform?
What I love is stuff like this. I'm big on digital advocacy only because sometimes we always can't leave the home and drive. So getting myself on podcasts. I had been on another sit-down stand-up show where it was talking about different disabilities. I've gotten in contact with other disability advocates from the Brain Injury Association, finding their support groups so I can even share those support groups with other people. Going to events, to galas, and being a voice for people who may not be the voice for themselves. And I actually don't just do this for myself. I do it in loving memory of my friend, Justin Bowman. I had known him for several years, but he had a brain injury, an anoxic one. He had survived 3 strokes. And even when he said he was talking to me and watching me go through the journey, he didn't even know some of the resources I had available. So he took his first neuropsychology test after we talked because he didn't even realize, like, hey, that is a brain injury. And there is a field of study that does exactly this. So even though the 4th stroke did take him out in September of 2024, I advocate for people like him who thought it was over, who thought it was helpless. Because sometimes you got to step out there and say, hey, like, look at me, like, I'm still not fully okay, but this is how I'm trying to get better.
Yeah. And I think and I'm so sorry for the loss of your friend. When we were talking earlier too, you said something. Sometimes I'm like, we always chit chat before. And I was like, I should just hit record from the beginning sometimes but you made a beautiful statement. And I would love to hear your take on this some more. Obviously, when you go through the insurance path in Canada and let's say North America, because I have no idea how the rest of the world works.
Yeah.
And you get given that title, permanent disability. And that title, that designation, let's say, that designation can destroy people. And I always like to say it is a snapshot in time and it is one thing. It doesn't define who you are or how you will live in this life moving forward. But I also have never been on that journey. And so I would love to hear kind of your thoughts on that. And you kind of started to talk about it before, but
yeah, it's so again, like I tell people I look okay, but yes, I am now permanently disabled. It took me years to get to that point. Lots of doctor's appointments, lots of physical therapy, chiropractic care. I tried my hardest. And still, when it came to the test years later, fundamentally, I failed them. When I first read the permanent disability diagnosis, I'm not going to lie, it did break me. I did cry because all of my quote unquote, I am a scientist, I am this, in my head, they were all gone. And now I am disabled. Like I even had trouble saying that for the longest time. But like I said, my platform, Grace for Your Journey, that's where grace comes in. I had to really sit with myself and like, okay, yes, we hear this. That just means you can't go at the same pace as everyone. You know, I go as fast as I can, but as slow as I must. It teaches you vulnerability and humility and asking for help when you need it. It teaches you how to slow down. So it is hard, but my hope is to show people, yes, it is a label, but it does not have to define you. There are other things you can do, like me, becoming a disability advocate, finding other advocates, because you don't have to do the journey alone. Especially when I said like insurance paperwork and legal things. I literally cannot do it. My brain short circuits. But now knowing there's people I can call and say, hey, I can't do this. Here's this stack of papers. Can you help me organize it? There are nonprofits and legal firms and people who can help you with that. And my goal is to point people to those places. Or if the person is, so gone mentally, maybe their family members can find me and they can get to where they need to go. So yeah, it's hard, but is light at the end of the tunnel, and there's help for you if you're willing to accept it.
Yeah. And I think, which you highlight here as well, we were talking about this with one of our most recent guests too, is, you know, society has a way of us wanting to like keep up with the chase, right? And there's an expected way that things need to be, except that we don't have to do things the way everyone else does them. It's sometimes a bit of a courageous act, but like you can choose to carve your own path, and you can choose to show up and create an opportunity in a way that is different than how it's always been done. And I think while that can be a scary thing for some people to do, it can also be some of the most profound moments of both you become an inspiration to other people. Not that I don't think anyone's a goal ever, but just the strength it builds in love, it builds in yourself and your own character. Right.
I wholeheartedly agree. I used to talk about like self-love and the soft life pre-injury. And those are things I kind of wanted in like a theory kind of way. But now I really see self-love in a different way, really taking care of me. I think there was a post you said like a brain injury is one of the few things you can't push through. Mm-hmm. You push through, you will end up on the ground. Your body will shut down. Learning that I can't push through, but also learning to share with other people, because how you said they have their expectations. Well, keep pushing, suck it up, get through it. No, I can't. Like I push myself into seizure status. If I keep doing, I can't do this. Yeah. And it's hard for some people because some days I may seem like I'm the life of the party and I'm okay. But did I go past my limit? Perhaps. So for the next week, guys, I can't. And I know I said I was going to do it, but I can't do it. And learning how to be okay with that, even with other people aren't okay.
That right there, learning to be okay with it and be proud of yourself, but even if other people aren't okay. And I think so often we have to live our lives for ourselves. You are your biggest relationship. And if you can't be proud of who you are and feel that love for yourself, and if we're this is like chronic people pleaser, like Natasha talking here, right? And I've done a lot of work around that, because if we are continuously trying to appease everybody else around us, you're going to destroy yourself.
Not just destroy yourself. A word I say is I was breaking my own heart, because during the journey with physical therapy, rehab, and therapy, in my mind it was like, and when I get back to normal, and when I'm okay, I kept doing that, and then creating this unachievable level that I was never getting to, and creating my own failures because I wouldn't accept that I can't do these things. So how you said, like, even when that label came, permanently disabled, I'm like, oh my God, there is no more getting back to who I was before the accident. Like, so entering a new relationship with me where how can I fall in love with the woman I am today? How can I be kind to her? How can I show up for her? Because she's still here. This little body of mine is doing the best that it can. How can I be gentle with it? And I found new ways. And honestly, during the pageant journey, still taking time for my appearance, confidently standing like, hey, this is my title. I competed. I earned it. It might be as much as I can do on some days, and learning how to do that with grace.
So I love that you just said, like, I needed to fall back in love with myself again. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's so many people listening to this right now, Brianna, that are like, oh, because they feel like that hits a chord, right? I always say when I work with people too, it's so often one of my biggest things that I work with people on is helping them find trust in their bodies again. And it kind of falls in that same, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a limit versus if you are full embodied, like I love who I am and I don't have to like everything every moment, but I love who I am as a being. And so I can trust in that and in me and in what I can do and my resolve and what I can bring. And so you shared a little bit about, you know, that process for you of falling in love with yourself again was finding something new, like the pageantry world was brand spanking new to you. What were some of the smaller things when you think back? And not even think back, because I think we have to continuously fall in love with ourselves. We change, every human being, we change all the time. Right. And it's, you know, we need different things at times. So what were some of the things that you did for yourself that helped you fall in love with who you are again?
One, being comfortable with stillness. I know we like to go, and there's some days where I can feel it. Like my body's shaking, it's anxious. But even in that stillness, I changed how I approached it. Like literally when I would lay down, I would affirm on my body, like you're doing the best you can. You are safe. You're forgiven. I had to affirm myself to give myself permission to lay down without guilt.
Yeah.
That was another thing. And, prior to my accident, I taught meditation and breath work.
Oh,
That's all I have is the meditation and the breath work. So learning how, like, even in this moment, no, I can't probably go out and do crazy yoga asanas, but I can hit now like yoga nidra moments. I'm like, okay, so this is a moment where I can set my intentions and just through my breath, focus on a thing. And sometimes that thing is maybe visualizing myself a little bit more healed, visualizing myself in the pageant journey, visualizing speaking opportunities, but doing that in a place of stillness. So like going from doing to just being. And that was profound for me.
can I talk about that practice for a minute?
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but for people listening to this, so my own journey. So like, again, anyone who's listened to this or followed me for all knows that I don't have a traumatic brain injury history. My history is trauma, anxiety. That's my history. But the stillness practice, it was one of the hardest steps for me to take. And so I want to dig into this just for a minute from a sciencey perspective piece and a nervous system piece because for Brianna, it was one of her most powerful tools. For me, one of the most powerful tools. But when it's something that you haven't done before, so I didn't do meditation or breath work or anything before. I started like let's call it my wellness journey, my own healing journey. And I remember I had a coach once that said, Natasha, I just want you to sit in stillness for 2 minutes. Okay, side note, that's a fucking long time if you've never sat in stillness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't recommend it. Brianna, when you're like, like you could feel your body shake, guys, like tremors, like full body shaking, couldn't catch my breath, mind whirling 10 gazillion miles a minute on every random thing, feeling like I'm going to vomit. And I'm going to talk about why this happened in a minute too. And I remember once I had a group that I coached at the time. And I remember I was sharing with the group that I was starting to embark on this element of trying to bring stillness into my life and why. And I remember even just talking about doing it to this group, my voice started to shake. I started to get teary. My hands started to sweat, like, holy shit. And I want us to think about the nervous system for a second and this piece of the fact that if we were an individual, and I don't know if this is you, Brianna, so you would just smile, nod, or like give it a huh, or be like, nope, this wasn't me at all. But if you are someone who is a doer, I'm going to say a type A personality who needs control over everything, a people pleaser, if you are someone who creates a level of chaos without it necessarily needing to be chaos, but busyness and chaos in your life that you need to always be doing because that's your nervous system's form of protection for whatever reason it has come, that's who you are. Not saying that's bad. However, if your nervous system is used to coping and surviving by always doing, and now all of a sudden you're saying, nope, stop, we need stillness. You guys, that ain't gonna feel safe to your nervous system.
Oh no.
Right?
And I can hold
completely foreign to it.
And I remember when I first got the brain injury diagnosis, the initial treatment was 2 months of bed rest. And I'm like,
what?
So you want me to lay down for 2 months?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So I was forced into stillness. And I remember the first few days, all I could do was cry and shake and thrash. And it was like, and this is only 48 hours. What on earth am I going to do for the next 2 months? So that deepened my personal journey. But I had to remember, so here you are returning to your breath. Remembering the hardest pose in yoga is the ending, Shavasana, corpse pose, when we lay down. So you've got 2 months of the hardest pose to just practice. And at first, it was, how you said, terribly hard because it type A. And even then, to my therapist, every one of my activities was busyness. Right? I would go to the gym every day. I was a marathon runner. That was my meditation.
Yeah.
I enjoyed cleaning, organizing, filing things. It was all control. And now I'm in no control. To win this part of it, to get back to what I wanted to, was back to normal, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You've got to defeat this 2 month laying down monster. And in turn, it defeated me.
Mm-hmm.
It defeated the whole ego and identity I had. And it was like, wow.
Yeah. And it's that piece of like, so like you guys, you hear Brianna talk about like her journey and you hear me talk about like, I couldn't do fucking stillness for 2 minutes. And it's this piece of even when, and this is where it really does, like, we need to understand how the nervous system works and perceives threat. Because even if Brianna knew, well, now she knows, she knew then too, but Brianna knew, I know the concept of like having calm and I know that's good for me, but my nervous system could not do that and wouldn't recognize it at the time. And I think what happens, and Brianna, I'd love to know, after I say this, I'd love to know like what you see in this and when you talk to other people, or if it was even in your own thing, is that when we, oh, this thing is good, so I need to do it. And it needs to look like a 10-minute meditation, or it needs to be this thing. And it's like, time out. It needs to look like what you personally can tolerate and integrate. And so for me, and if you're someone who's listening to this being like, I can't do stillness, because I know there's going to be some of you listening to this that say that. Y'all, I started with 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I found a space in my home, and it was literally, I'm looking at them right now. So I was in a different house at the time, but I have these wicker chairs that when you sit in them, it just feels like the chair gives you a big hug, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And so I had these wicker chairs, and I sat on my wicker chair, and it was on a patio that faced the ocean, and I could hear the breeze. I was on this, I'm a chicken shit, so I was on the second level of a patio, so I could close, I mean, I can lay in the grass and close my eyes, but I could close my eyes. I felt completely safe in this spot. Mm-hmm. And so for me, the only way I could start to bring stillness in was in that spot. That spot became like an anchor in the beginning. And in the beginning, I needed that because I could feel safe in that spot to then close my eyes to explore stillness. Yes. But it literally started at 30 seconds because much more than that, my system was like, this is scary. This is a threat. And when we start continuously pushing into threat, that does not serve healing.
You're absolutely right. And now I have no problem with it. And if I'm teaching meditation classes or guiding people, you can see like, and they're like, how do you do it? And I was like, that's the point. There's nothing to do.
Yeah. I mean, think too, I mean, you probably
comfortable with having nothing to do.
Yeah. And that I think there was also this, I'd always been taught that meditation meant you had to have a clear mind. And I'm like, no.
And yeah, first, it's just returning to your breath.
Yeah.
The deeper breaths and doing it more throughout the day. Yeah. Getting to a place of a spotless mind, that takes a lot. But I've learned it through the journey. But when you get there, it almost feels like death. And one things we do is try to avoid our own death.
Yeah. How do you today, because you said before, like in the beginning, like you liked control, like you planned, I'm guessing you had like the timetable and the calendar and like you were booked.
Yeah.
And you're like, today I have no control. How does not having control look like for you today? Like for you to explain to old Brianna, let's just almost say like the freedom you have by letting go of some control.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does that feel like for you?
Yeah, I would tell old Brianna, I know it seems like if you're not accomplishing and not doing, you're not good enough. It was learning that you didn't realize it back then, but you were actually overachieving. You were overcompensating. You actually are good enough right now. And today, this Brianna is like, see, you were good enough. You were more than good enough. And we've got a crown to prove it. We have awards. But where did that come from? Letting go and surrendering and saying, okay, even the concept, in theory, you say everything's working out for us. Everything's for our highest good. I sat with a shaman who was like, one day was like, you're going to find out this was the best thing that ever happened to you. And I remember looking at him like, you're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. No, yeah. But
yeah.
Yeah. What? Because did you die? No. Did more beautiful things happen? Yes. Did more issues? You did find out like you're permanently disabled. Okay. I thought that was going to be the worst thing in the world because I had a therapist who was like, you won't even say the word disabled. And she was like, what if you find out that this is permanent? Well, we'll get there when we get there, but that's not the case now. Oh, look, it's the case. How we talk about self-love and how we allow other people to treat us. People can be mean. people have biases against disabled people. They have biases about, because right now I appear in the most softest, feminine, surrendered, graceful part of myself. Some people may see it as prissy and bougie, and I think I'm better. No, this is just as fast as I can go. And I shouldn't have to tell you, hey, I have a brain injury for you to respect my pace. Because we also do have a pace in society for those who are healthy and healed. I can't go at that pace at all. So yeah, what's up, Brianna? You're going to be okay.
Yeah. And I think, someone said to me once, they're in one of my programs, and they said, a concussion, I'm going to say concussion. And at this point, honestly, we could say any major injury, any chronic diagnosis, truthfully, anxiety, PTSD, all those things. And I could say from my own experience too, it forces you to look at the things you didn't want to look at before.
Yes.
And I remember so clearly, I didn't go to therapy and really begin on my own work until I had no choice. And I remember, and that's why I say when you embark on a journey of doing the work, whatever that work means, it's one of the most courageous acts you can do for yourself. And it's one of the biggest acts of self-love that you can do for yourself. And it's fucking terrifying because you don't know. You don't know. And so this is why I think it's so hard for some type A people and the people who need control, and why for me, it was so hard to start to go down that route, because you don't know what's going to surface. Mm-hmm. And I remember so clearly being like, I know I should do some stuff, but like my business is doing well, my marriage is good, I have a healthy baby. Now is not the time, because I don't know literally, I was like, I don't know what that door is going to open, and I don't want to deal with it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so I think it was definitely someone in my program that was just like, that concussion or that diagnosis or whatever that is, should you choose to, but it forces you to look at the things that you didn't want to look at.
Yeah, for me, it's boundaries. We talk about boundaries in this, but now I have to have boundaries on my time and who can push me and people calling and needing me, because I was used to over functioning in relationships. Well, now I can't function at all. And I need this. You can need whatever you want. I'm just saying. Are you okay with this? Because I'm going to sleep. And like having to learn that agency, my self-agency. I got stronger self-agency, but I got it out of a need to survive, a need to keep myself from having symptoms by trying to do too much, by pretending I'm okay.
Yeah. Brianna, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you. Again, thank you for like opening my eyes and for using your platform in the way you are to, again, just another avenue to share that knowledge and that awareness. I think sometimes I say I sound like a fucking broken record, but I feel like while the world is moving forward in our awareness and education, we still have so much work to do. And people like yourself who are using their voices in ways that and this is the best that I love, you're using your voice in a way that supports you and does not deplete you, but that you have purpose. And with that, you're also creating change. And so for that, I thank you and think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And how you said it's courageous. I didn't realize it was the bravest thing I was going to do, is learn how to advocate for myself. And it encourages others.
Absolutely. For anyone listening to this who is in a place where they're trying to reconnect with who they are, Brianna, and they're trying to find that path to loving who they are in this chapter that they're currently in, what words would you say to them?
Give yourself grace. Everybody's fighting something. And your body, your mind, your spirit is doing the best it can while you're still alive. Enjoy the journey.
Thank you. For those that want to reach out to Brianna, her Instagram is below, websites below. We dropped all her links below in the show notes. Please reach out to her, support her cause, share her message, all those things. Brianna, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I wish everybody grace for their journey.
Have a lovely day, everyone. And until next week, we'll see you soon. that's today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked what you heard, give us a like, give us a share, give us a tag on Instagram, and please never hesitate to reach out. We love communicating and connecting with you. Until next week, my friends, have a marvelous day.